Welcome back, ladies and gents, to the AJ Roberts Show. I hope you're all well. Today we are joined by none other than Kaela Banthorpe. Kaela is a chairperson for the Freedom Alliance Party. Now, the Freedom Alliance Party was formed as a direct response to the ongoing saga we find ourselves in and the one-way narrative that has been basically blown up over the last 2 years by mainstream media and other parties that are within Westminster. Welcome to the show, Kaela.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
It's great having you on. And when I got the opportunity to actually have somebody on that has gone down a political route with no political background, campaigning and doing stuff like that, I thought, this is a great opportunity for the wider public to see, your run-of-the-mill, everyday person, mother, who's been through the thick of it like everybody else around the country, who's taken a stand amongst many other people to create some kind of opposition, because there hasn't been one, to the response that's been pushed out there by mainstream media and the government over the COVID-19 pandemic. So just taking ourselves back, like before you got involved with this, like what was your experiences over the last couple of years before you got involved with the Freedom Alliance Party?
Fairly early on, when the lockdowns and everything were first announced and the schools were closed, I had an immediate reaction that this was not right, and there was something very seriously wrong happening in the country and around the world. And I very quickly decided I was going to go out there and find my tribe. It couldn't possibly be the case that it was only me feeling like that, because a lot of my friends at the time were certainly not on my page. So I went out there, I connected with a lot of amazing people who also had concerns. And I really spent most of my time either going to protests. I spent an awful lot of time and energy originally with the Us for Them campaign, which were the only organisation group sort of speaking up for children. And children throughout all of this have been my main focus. From kind of going to the stand in the parks locally and talking to people there. I've been involved in the Rebels on Roundabout, standing there with the yellow boards and being hooted at or sworn at. So I've been very active as a campaigner, particularly for children, and certainly in the northeast of England. Connecting parents together who, were feeling like me, that, they couldn't possibly be the only people thinking that this was wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one thing I've noticed on a huge scale is the massive mother instinct that's kicked in over the last sort of especially the last year. And I know over the last couple of years, there's been a distinct, noticeability of the size of ratio from male to female. There's been a massive portion of females out there, shield maidens, as I like to call them, which literally have been, really up front with that. I guess that ancestry, Viking spirit. And when I say, I use the term shield maiden because that's literally what a lot of these mothers have been like. Because I've been all around the country doing, talks and stuff like that, and at protests and stuff, and just seeing the passion in all these mothers' eyes, and you can just see why they're there. And then even, just in the last sort of 24 hours, they've announced that they're going to plan to jab 5 to 11-year-olds around the country, not till April. But despite all the hard work that's been going in the awareness, what was your gut feeling when that was announced?
The announcement yesterday about having young. Yeah, well, I'll be totally honest, I haven't really slept. My immediate reaction is to feel very distressed, really, that this is still being pushed onto young children, when I'm very aware that there are lots of parents out there who don't have access to the information or are not looking at the information that I'm looking at. I see these parents every day. I see them in the playground at my daughter's school, and it does. My immediate reaction is not good.
Yeah, I mean, I recently shared the extensive information that was actually released on the actual number of people in age categories that had died of COVID, which we can now see is nowhere near 159,000, as like, you know, the BBC pump out every night. It's actually, you know, around the 6,000 mark. And out of, when broken down into age categories, there's been like age 5 to 11, there's been no deaths, like none in this whole country. However, we know, scientifically know, and it's been proven, and the JCVI even said it themselves, that the risks of potential long-term damage and myocarditis and death in children far outweighs the risk of them like dying from the disease itself. The government on both occasions has just gone over the head, ignored that advice, and they're going all out, which, you know, which proves what we've been saying all along. It's all about maximum collapse and also maximum profit between themselves and the pharmaceutical companies. It's really, really alarming. And I think that's the key message here, is to get that, you know, the whole risk versus rewards into the parents' heads, so they can really understand, because it's not just about what the parents think. You know, you've got the fact that these kids are at school with loads of other kids, and, you know, and we see it ourselves, don't we? You know, the kids just tend to regurgitate what their parents say. Like, I talk to my teenagers about it all the time. You know, they say some of the things they say that their friends say about the whole COVID situation. You can just see it's what their parents are saying and they're led to believe. So it's almost like a two-way battle, isn't it? So yeah, I was extremely alarmed that it was going ahead, especially as personally, I've seen and had lots of DMs from people in Australia where they first weekend of rolling out the jab on 5 to 11-year-olds, there was like quite a large number of children that collapsed like in the jab centre, and we were refused ambulances because it would scare off the other people queuing up to jab their kids. The parents had to take their own children to hospital. That weekend I had so many DMs from people over there, because obviously we've got quite a big following over there, and it just blows my mind, but it's disgusting at the same time. So, you know, I totally get where you're coming from, and with that passion in mind, is that what led you to, you know, get involved with the Freedom Alliance Party, and as a chairperson, what's actually your role in that?
Yeah, so I guess from my experience has been that I was involved in an awful lot of different ways of being an activist, and I kind of almost feel like a compulsion to keep speaking up and to use every possible avenue available to really have our voices heard, and particularly to speak up for the children who I do believe have been put bottom of the pile in all of this. Worse than that, I think they've been treated appallingly, and great harms are being done to children. So that certainly that's my passion, and that's what has driven me. And it was early on last year I saw something, I think it might have been on Facebook, and it was a description of Freedom Alliance. And I looked at it and I just thought, wow, that speaks for me. That's exactly how I feel. And this is a political party. Wow, you know, this is completely new, because no political party has ever spoken for me before. And I contacted the founder, Jonathan, who is now the leader of the party, and just had a chat with him and said, you know, what can I do? I'll do anything really to get this message out there. And within, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, I was standing in a local election in a council down the road from me, which was, you know, I was shocked at myself, really. But I felt, you know, well, there's an opportunity there. I'll do it. I'll give it a go. All completely new. I've always felt that politics was something that other people did. It's something that, you know, men in grey suits, it's got nothing to do with me. But yeah, so that's kind of what, it was a very quick kind of introduction to politics. And I felt that for me, it wasn't so much the needing to get lots of votes or anything, because last year there were far more people asleep to what was going on than there are this year.
Yeah.
But it was the process of being able to go out and talk to people and walk around the streets with a leaflet, which looked legitimate. We're a legitimate party, and this is what we're speaking up about. And to have conversations with people that were quite difficult at times, but at least we were having the conversations, because that's been completely absent from public life. The propaganda is all we hear, the silencing and censoring of people with any opposing view. So to actually be out on the streets talking to people and really gauging, so what do you really think? Are you not asking questions? Are you not concerned? That was really interesting. And also being part of the count, going to the leisure centre or wherever it was, and sitting for hours and hours because it was delayed with other people standing for other parties, and hearing from, there was the young man who was standing for the Conservative Party was telling me how wonderful Bill Gates was. So that was an interesting conversation. But we had the conversation because we were captured in a room for hours. So again, that's the sort of conversation you don't have, or you're not allowed to have unless you have it on social media until you get closed down.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity as well, because once you put a political spin on it and you're actually campaigning, and you suddenly got the name of a party behind you, suddenly people take it seriously. So exactly that, it's an opportunity that can't be missed. And I think, it's exactly that. And once you're sharing a room with other political party, or whether it's leaders or personnel, you've got an opportunity there to try, make your voice heard, and whether it's like for or against, it's that, and because the absence of debate has been one of the biggest issues in the last 2 years, other than the wider sort of like COVID narrative. There's been no room for debate. I've offered 40 odd doctors to come on the podcast, and it's either like straight no, they won't debate, or make up some kind of weird excuse. And to this day, I still encourage anybody to come on and debate with somebody else, but we are where we are. But I think it's fantastic though that you've those mother instincts and that have led you to this path. And I bet your daughters must be extremely proud of you. And as a parent myself, I've always got this in the forefront of my mind. I'm like, I can't just stand there, look at my kids in the eyes and say I've done nothing.
Absolutely.
And and I know you're exactly the same. But with the party itself, I mean, what are you looking like at the minute in terms of strength in numbers and people sort of around the country?
Yeah. So we when it was founded, it was founded by a couple of friends in West Yorkshire, and they were joined quite quickly by some people in Glasgow. So they're the roots really of the party. But we do have membership across the UK, so in Scotland and in Wales. We have interest from Northern Ireland, but we're not established there, and we may or may not pursue that, we're not sure. So we last year we stood 160 candidates. We were a brand new party, very, very new, and we were flooded with interest from candidates, including myself. And we have been united in our stance against lockdowns, pro body autonomy, and all of those messages. But when I after I stood as a candidate, I decided I wanted to get much more involved with the party. Originally, I was the secretary of the party, and then I stood for chair as well. And I've been in that position for quite a few months now. And we've moved quite quickly from being just united against something to realizing we needed to have a positive message, and we needed to build a vision. So what do we want the UK to look like? How would we want to be governed? How would we want to govern? And from that has sprung so many really interesting conversations and debates. And very interestingly, we are aligned mostly on the whole around our views about health, about education, and the feeling that it's not just the political system that needs to be undone and built again, but that also education, health, every part of public life, really, we need to do something completely different. So we have lots of exciting projects and pieces of work, working groups looking at those. And because of that, we've attracted a whole load of more people who want to be part of building something. So we've got, you'll be aware of the networks and organisations that have sprung up as a result of the last 2 years, who are trying to look at building an alternative healthcare service, which is holistic and positive in its nature. And again, there's lots of networks and groups looking at education, and they're coming to us now because they're the experts that have been. I don't like the word experts, actually. I'll take that back. But they're the people who have put their heart and soul into those particular areas of work, and they're coming to us and offering their support around new policy. We've got the beginnings of a draft manifesto. Because again, when I stood last year for council, even those people that supported my message, they were saying, well, we can't take you seriously because you're a one-trick pony, you're just one issue. How can we possibly take your party seriously? So we're, and it's challenging because we have people in the party. It is Freedom Alliance. It brings people from all different backgrounds, some who previously were very what they would consider left-leaning, some right-leaning, some who've never voted before and have been completely out of politics. So but the fact is we've been able to have those debates openly and come to some resolution on those.
That's awesome. And what a lot of people don't realize as well, saying about the whole one-trick pony thing. I guarantee yourself, the party leader, and a lot of the other sort of people around the round table, it's very, very the same as like me and my team of amazing people. We have like kind of like a round table of like awesomeness, we like to call it. But like, it's not just about like what's happening now. We can clearly see what's happening now, and it is about mitigating more damage now. But we're very much thinking about like what is going to happen in the future in terms of what communities are going to need, when people realise en masse that they have been badly duped, what does that look like? Who picks up the pieces? Who drives community effort forward? Like all that kind of stuff, because that's not really being talked about or even thought about like on a grand scale, because the people that are running this are very much part of the single narrative. So this is very much the forefront of our minds, and this is why I've been encouraging so many veterans to sort of like get involved, because the veterans and their experience are going to be massively needed within their communities because of like the things they've been through, not just the 2 years, but have been involved in the last few decades. They have this such great skill set to be able to get stuck in with communities and that, and help people like pick their lives back up. And like you see, you touched on holistical health there. It's massively been missing, hasn't it? Like for centuries. It's been squashed almost. It's not been recognised by the NHS since 2017. Why is that?
And I think interestingly, the people that, for example, have joined the Freedom Alliance, and also the people I generally see out there in the protest movement, there's a lot of people who would have been considered alternative, who would have been, I just when lockdown was announced, I was setting my own business up as a life and well-being coach. The people around the table of Freedom Alliance, we've got an acupuncturist, we've got an energy healer, we've got a lot of really good people around the table who've probably way before COVID hit have had some different ideas about how things could be done. So it's great. It's we have to look at this as a time of opportunity, as well as the horrors that we're experiencing, because it is bringing people together to make really good things happen.
Yeah, it's interesting you touched on it then about like being a sort of like a life coach and stuff like that. Literally, I know a lot of coaches out there, obviously, being one myself, and I'm sure you do too. And it's pretty much every coach that I know has seen this whole thing for what it is very early on. And I think not just from an entrepreneurial sense, because again, like the majority of entrepreneurs I know have seen this what it is very early on. I just think you have that ability to critically think, haven't you? But then if you're employed, you don't always, you know what you've got to turn up and do, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't really think for yourself, and you don't look at data.
No, we've got a lot of self-employed people as well. You know, people who have maybe already taken themselves out of the system in terms of employment, like you say. I had a career in the NHS, a long career, 17 years. I left in 2013 on a matter of principle without another job to go to, because it was falling apart. It was a toxic environment. It was not a nice place to be. So I think, again, you know, this whole horrors of the last 2 years, it's brought people together who were already questioning what was going on in our country.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so well, you touched on it there, you know, what it was like within the NHS before this even started. So if you can imagine coming from that environment and what that platform was like before this then kicked in, you know, it's half the reason why we are where we are from a healthcare sector point of view. But with the party itself, obviously, when it comes to like campaigning and stuff like that, what's your main message?
So our main message is still a very much, you know, we do not want to be in a position ever again where the government can have such overreach into our lives. Yeah. You know, we're very strong on body autonomy, on people having the right to determine their own lives and live their lives as they wish, to not ever be in a position where the government can tell you who to hug, who to stand next to, who to spend time with. And I mean, those are our key messages. We also have quite a big message about the COVID jabs as well. We wouldn't, we've moved away from, I don't know even if we ever had that message, but about the pro-choice, because we want a more sophisticated message to be out there. Because at the moment, we don't believe that with the amount of propaganda and coercion and silencing and censoring of other information, that many people are actually able to make an informed choice. So we do have a strong message about the COVID jabs as well. We believe they should be stopped immediately. So in that way, we're quite different from the other political parties who are very much going down, you know, well, it's everybody's choice, you know, you do what's right for you. And you know, there's quite a number of us in the party who feel very strongly that that is not good enough. It doesn't go far enough. And we're witnessing people dying and, you know, experiencing great harm because of these jabs. And even if you don't make the direct link, surely we need to at least stop and ask questions and look at what's really happening.
Yeah. That's been a key thing, hasn't it? Like people just don't make the direct link because like it's not happened to them. That's been the case all the way along. And, you know, because they've been totally fine and, you know, people in their family might have. And I genuinely, on behalf of those people, hope that they've had a saline placebo jab. I genuinely do. I hope millions of people have had them because we don't want to see anybody harmed. But they need to look past that outside their wider circles. And when you're like, you know, become a person of influence and stuff like that, you do see the bigger picture and so much like clearer light and just the sheer damage this is caused, because obviously you have more people coming to you. Like myself, you know, literally when there was talk of 5 to 11s being jabbed, I had a lady in the hospital that had to leave her job. She said she saw 12 kids between the age of 12 and 14 get brought in 2 weeks with strokes from them. Like, when has that ever been a thing? But again, people that haven't experienced anything themselves, you know, that's not going to be put on the news, so they're never going to see it. But that is the reality of it. And, you know, the risk of your child being one of the statistics is far, far higher than them having any major issues to do with the disease itself.
Absolutely.
And again, people just need to get information out. So the fact we've got a party now, letting what you're doing, you know, in a political way, getting that information out there and providing an opposition, which there hasn't been at all, because Labour hasn't even been in opposition, is it? They're all like completely bought and paid for, being run by the same shadow government. It's, you know, it's great what you guys are doing to get that out there.
I mean, our other key messages are really about, you know, the decision making should be driven by people and not by big corporations. We're very much about local decision making and decentralization, you know, all of those things. Because, you know, again, there's a huge jigsaw, isn't there, of all the different parts that have contributed to this absolute nightmare that we're going through. Pharmaceutical companies are a huge part of that. They should not be driving policy. I mean, the World Health Organization is unelected. It's not democratic. It has no right to determine the policy of and the World Economic Forum. You know, why are they telling us how to live our lives? It's not right. So, you know, those are big issues for us as well.
Yeah, I said the other day, if the World Health Organization and the World Economic Forum disappeared overnight, nobody would bat an eyelid, because 99% of the population don't even know what they're about. And even a lot of the specialists that I've had on the show, when talk about the World Health Organization, they kind of like, you can see them kind of smirk, because they're just like, what did they even do? Like, why are we even, you know, bowing down to these people? They have no control or nothing. They've just literally got puppets in seats, you know, very much part of the problem, and have been from the same time, which then get media time. So people think like, oh, this is big, huge organization which controls this and this, but it doesn't, and never has done. Yes, it is quite interesting that you bring that point up. So if someone wants to get involved, you know, from a local level with what you guys are doing, because there is, everywhere you go, there's stand and park groups, which is awesome. You know, there's people out there doing local protests, outreach, leaflet dropping, all this kind of stuff. So they're kind of like halfway there anyway. Where would they find more information on joining the Freedom Alliance Party?
So we have a website, freedomalliance.co.uk, where you can click on and become a member. So becoming a member is the first step. We are a membership-led political party, which is another important point to make as well. We don't have any big financial backers. So the 20 quid that you pay to be a member for a year is contributing to us being able to stand in elections. So we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. So, you know, take a look at us there. So become a member. We've got council elections coming up in May, not everywhere, but certainly in lots and lots of places across Scotland, Wales and England. Stand as a candidate for us, you know, be the person who speaks up in your local community. Be that person. You can be a paper candidate. You don't even have, it doesn't cost you anything. You can literally fill a form in and have your name there, Freedom Alliance, for people to go and put their cross against on voting day. You can be more than a paper candidate, and obviously we'd prefer people to be much more active and campaign as well. But it is as easy as that. It's not as difficult as people, or as the politicians make it out to be. To actually stand as a candidate is very easy. And if you don't want to be the face in your local community, then offer support to your local candidate. I'm standing at the moment down the road from me as a candidate in the Ferry Hill division of County Durham Council. And, you know, people there can help me with the leafleting and support me in that way. They don't necessarily need to be the face that's out there.
Yes, there's loads of ways people can get involved, which is, you know, it was absolutely fantastic.
I mean, the other way as well is if people are more interested in the particular areas around sort of money, the monetary system, or education or health, come and join our steering group. It's very informal. Come and join one of our working groups and inform our policy. You know, there are lots of opportunities. The way that the party is run at the moment, it's very light touch. The executive committee is very light touch. We come together to make the important decisions, but we're really driven by our steering group, which is really anybody who's a member that wants to do more and contribute more, they can come in and have their say. So it's very informal.
That's absolutely, I love that. And it's, again, it's seems like a nice family and community-based sort of arena that you've kind of set up there, which is absolutely fantastic. So, you know, kudos to you guys for doing this. And, you know, I'm out there going to, you know, protests and stuff like that as like the face of the show, but, you know, I'm very much doing the same as you guys, you know, and as a parent as well. So it's there's so many ways people can get involved at different levels. You know, if you think something's very much out your comfort zone in terms of getting your face out there, you know, there's, like you said, there's so much more other things you can do to get involved at different levels. And, you know, I get so many DMs every day, and there's a lot of people always asking, like, what can I do to do more? I don't feel like I'm doing enough. I mean, sharing a post is doing more than most people. People don't realize that, but, you know, there's opportunities now, like with the Freedom Alliance Party, to get involved all around the country at local level, to get your message heard, because I imagine some people feel like that their message is falling on deaf ears sometimes, and feel like they're just going backwards in circles, especially now when they're saying, oh, you know, they're looking at jabbing 5 to 11-year-olds, and you know, that can feel quite disappointing. So I think if you get behind something like what you guys are doing now, it carries a lot more weight, doesn't it?
Well, I hope so. I mean, one of our big challenges, and we have many, because we're one of those other organisations that's censored and deplatformed at times, is to encourage those. Our natural supporters don't vote. Our natural supporters are completely disillusioned with politics now, and probably were beforehand. And, you know, one of the challenges I get is, you know, why would you want to be part of that system? They are the problem. So it's flipping that on its head and just saying, well, we could be part of the solution. And if we don't get in there and disrupt what is currently there and expose it, you know, if I'm there at account and I can see how things are done, then I can, and if things are not done properly, then I can expose that. Rather than it being all done behind closed doors, like it's in some other world. I think we need to get in there and start making a difference and having those conversations with the other political parties as well.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say we did we pressed a reset button in a good way. What would be the gold standard of like politics set up for yourself? No matter who's in charge, like what would you like to see happen?
We would well, where to start really? We would want to have a political system which cannot be corrupted for a start. So we would have to put things in place to make sure that can't happen. We would also want to change the voting system, because at the minute it's first past the post, which is hugely difficult for small parties like us trying to get out there and make a difference. We would probably look to have referendums on more things so that people are actually voting on issues rather than just for people. A lot more people might turn out to vote like they did about Brexit, because it was an issue that people were passionate about, than they would to go and vote for their local MP. So it's shifting the power back into the hands of the people, really. We would want to have much more emphasis on local decision making, on grassroots.
This is really interesting you say that. So I've been having a lot of conversations about this recently, and obviously I've got my own views on where I think the optimum outlook would be. I really like the idea of having everything grassroots driven. So from villages to towns to cities, but people vote on policy, not on the person. So you have like a steering group for each area, and they drive the policy that's voted by the people. So it's voted by the people for the people. So it's not like a leader at the top and the merry men, you know, which brings in, it's just open doors for corruption.
Absolutely, yeah. I think as well, it's the accountability. You know, I've written millions of times, as I'm sure many other people have, to my local MP. I was writing in 2020 about schools being closed, about my concerns for children. You know, my children are lucky they come from a loving home. All the children who were sent home with, you know, no school, no nothing, completely isolated within families that were not happy. And my MP ignored every single letter until she was obviously given something from on high, and then it just regurgitated what the party line was. So there was no accountability. There's no, I'm going to listen to what you say, I'm going to consider it and then make a response, or even ask some more questions and find out more. It was just literally completely ignore, and then, no, this is what we are going to do. And that we can't have that anymore. You know,
well, it's a very didactic approach, isn't it? It's very much, I say, you do.
It's, and you know, I think MPs forget, well, deliberately, that they are here to serve us, not the other way around. So the big parties, they're all controlled and captured, they're not to be trusted. And, you know, I think we do want more and more people. If all of the people who agreed with our stance, and there are many of us, became members with us, and then from that people became candidates, we could really start to have a voice within the political system in this country. But at the moment, you know, we probably have going on nearly 4,000 members now, which is not bad going for a new political party. We have thousands and thousands more people that support and follow us, but they don't join. So again, it's getting the message out there that we just need you to become a member, and then you can have a voice within the party as well. You can vote on our policies and our manifesto, and you can start to shape what the party looks like and what we stand for.
That's awesome. Yeah, like you're saying, it's for the people, isn't it? Very much.
It is, yeah.
Which is something that's been massively missing for many moons in the UK, and still to this day. You know, which is unfortunate. So, you know, I'm a big fan of people like yourself taking a stand for the people, and actually standing up for, you know, what's right, and whether that's freedom of choice, you know, freedom to be able to work, to be able to live, you know, and your own bodily autonomy, which is obviously a massive issue. It's just remarkable what people like yourselves are doing, and that's why I was really keen to have somebody on the show like yourself to showcase that work that is going on. You know, because I've been to see our local MP twice, and he just goes on the defensive all the time, like you're attacking him. And it's just so easy to see through. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I got another meeting. You know what I mean? Your time's up. It's just, you can just see right through these people, and they're just foot soldiers at the end of the day. And I think the sooner they realize that, and that they are expendable, you know, the better. So please, you know, on behalf of all the listeners, please keep doing what you're doing. You know, you're making noise in the right way. You know, the outreach is being done in the right way, so it's getting people of influence to listen more, which has often gone on deaf ears. You know, so it's absolutely amazing. Obviously, you mentioned already that people can find you at freedomalliance.co.uk, all over Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and from a local level, encourage people to get involved and stand as a candidate.
Absolutely, yeah. We've got, I think, 6 weeks before we can start putting people forward as candidates. So it's very current. It's happening now. We, as a party, we're ready to support people. It's really not a difficult task to do. So I would encourage people to look at that. So just send an email via the website to us, and we'll come back to you. Amazing.
Kaela, thanks so much for coming on the show today and sharing all your fantastic insights to, you know, what it's like to go from everyday mum to chairperson of a political party. I think, you know, it's an incredible journey. And like I said before, you know, I think, you know, your kids must be so proud of seeing what you're doing. And I no doubt learned so much from you. And I encourage everybody to, you know, to do the same, you know, get out there and speak your truth, like, and stand within your own power against what's going on in this country. Please do check out the Freedom Alliance's party's website.co.uk and get involved, ladies and gents. But yeah, thanks again for coming on, Kaela. And guys and girls, if you enjoyed today's show, please make sure you share it, tag some people in the show notes and the comments across social media who you think would like to get involved with the Freedom Alliance Party, or just to help educate people on actually what's going on. But for me and Kaela, enjoy yourself, and I'll see you again very, very soon on the AJ Roberts Show.